400,000 Canadians just lost everything they own. Everything. And nobody's talking about it. In 2020, they were told, buy now or be priced out forever. So they maxed out everything, bought at the peak, and now rates tripled, equity vanished, the system they trusted abandoned them. This is the collapse. Buckle up, because prices always recover, right? Homeowners always land on their feet. The worst is behind us. Wrong. Those beliefs are being destroyed right now. This isn't a dip. This is a full structural breakdown, and it's already started. And 2.2 million Canadians are next. Here's how fast this is moving. In Toronto, mortgage delinquencies have tripled since 2022. In the GTA, power of sale listings have doubled in just 1 year. In some Ontario suburbs, they now make up 10% of active listings. That used to be close to zero. This isn't a forecast, it's already happening. Here's the trap no one saw coming. Between 2020 and 2021, Canadians flooded into the market. They locked in 5-year mortgages at 2%. Now those loans are hitting renewal. The new rates are 4 to 5%. That shift doesn't increase payments, it detonates budgets. For a $600,000 mortgage, that's an extra $900 to $1,100 a month. No refinance option, no equity to borrow against, no buffer in the budget. That's not an adjustment. That's financial hemorrhaging. Here's the national picture. Over 1.2 million Canadian mortgages will reset by the end of 2026. Most will see payments rise 10 to 20%. Some will jump 40% or more. But real wages haven't moved since 2019. So now you've got higher payments, flat income, and less equity. You borrow $1 million, you still owe that million. But the house is worth $250,000 less than what you paid. That's how this collapse spreads, not with headlines, but through missed payments, budget shortfalls, and families who quietly hit their limit. Insolvencies in Ontario are up 17.8%. Missed mortgage payments have tripled. More than 30% of Canadian homeowners are now house poor. Toronto's delinquency rate just hit a 10-year high. This isn't just a correction, this is instability spreading through regular households. So here's what we're covering in this video. First, who's actually at risk right now. Second, the 3 warning signs that prove this is a breakdown, not a blip. Third, a 1-week plan to protect yourself before the damage gets worse. If you're in Southern Ontario, anywhere from Toronto to Niagara, I built a free 1-page survival plan. It shows you what lenders are watching for before they pull back your renewal. The link is in the description. I've helped Canadian families navigate the exact trap that's quietly wiping out thousands of others, and the patterns are unmistakable. Most Canadians still believe their home is the safest place to build wealth. But what they're starting to realize is the rules changed, and no one warned them. Rates spiked, amortization stretched, and now the entire market is collapsing under the weight of its own debt. But here's what almost nobody realizes, and it's the reason this isn't just a correction. There's a hidden structural risk that could accelerate this collapse almost overnight. And if it unfolds, we cross a point of no return. Stay with me. You already saw the early signs: delinquencies rising, equity evaporating, budgets detonated by renewals. But here's where it gets worse. There's a second layer most homeowners never see coming, and it's already triggering a vicious feedback loop across the country. I'm talking about investor-owned housing. This is the hidden structural risk that's accelerating the collapse, and it's happening in real time. Now you're probably thinking, I'm not an investor. Doesn't impact me? That's where you are dead wrong. Let's break it down. According to Statistics Canada, over 40% of condo units in Ontario are investor-owned. That means they're not primary homes, they're rental assets held for profit. And in 2022, 80 to 85% of new Toronto condos went straight to investors. That worked fine until rates spiked. Now rent doesn't cover the mortgage, and those investors are bleeding cash. Unlike end users, they don't wait around when they're underwater. They sell. We're already seeing it. Condo listings in investor-heavy buildings have exploded over the last 6 months. Units are sitting, prices are being slashed, and rent growth has completely stalled in several pockets. Here's what most people miss. When investors exit, they don't just sell one home, they unload portfolios, which floods the market with supply, kills price support, and sets off panic among other owners. That's exactly how things accelerated in the US housing crash in 2008. And it's why the CMHC has flagged cities like Toronto, Hamilton, and Vancouver as extremely vulnerable to an investor fire sale. Now let's layer that on top of what we said earlier. Millions of Canadians facing renewals, no equity left, and suddenly the buyer pool disappears. You're not just stuck, you're exposed to a falling market that's no longer liquid. That's what breaks people financially. You can't refinance, you can't sell, and the asset you believed in is collapsing underneath you. Now here's the macro trigger that's pushing this all to the edge. Canada's debt-to-income ratio just hit 180%. That's almost $2 owed for every dollar earned. Third highest in the developed world. Over half of Canadian mortgages now have variable or adjustable payments, which means the pain is immediate. Every rate hike bleeds directly into budgets, and every homeowner on a trigger rate mortgage is getting suffocated harder every month. This is what almost nobody realizes. And if it unfolds, we cross a point of no return. It's not just high debt that causes collapse, it's high debt plus rising payments plus falling prices. That combo wipes people out. Quietly, brutally, with no headlines until it's too late. And here's what makes this criminal. The people getting crushed right now followed every rule. They saved, they qualified, they trusted the system, and the system changed the game mid-play. So what can you do about it? Here's the reality most people miss. If your mortgage renews in the next 12 to 18 months, you need to model your payment jump now, because most Canadians underestimate it by 20 to 30%. That's not a planning error. That's a budget detonation waiting to happen. If you're an investor bleeding cash every month, this is your exit window, not when the market panics and buyers vanish, but right now, while there's still liquidity. And if you're a homeowner barely holding on, start the lender conversation today. Ask about early renewals, amortization resets, hardship programs, because once your payments are past due, your negotiation power evaporates. This is already happening to thousands of Canadians, which is why I built a free one-page cheat sheet that maps out all of this. It includes the 3 biggest renewal traps, what banks are red flagging right now, and the exact trigger points that cause payment spikes. If you're in Southern Ontario and you want it, the link is in the description. The final thing I'll say here is this. The people getting hit hardest by this collapse aren't reckless. They followed the plan, bought at the right time, did what the banks told them, but the foundation cracked. And now the same system that promised security is suffocating them. Because the real pain isn't in the charts, it's in the kitchen table decisions being made by real families every day. And what I'm about to show you next will make this collapse impossible to ignore. You're not just watching a market correction, you're living through the slow motion collapse of a system that was never built to protect you. The headlines say it's temporary, that rates will fall, that prices will recover. But behind the scenes, a permanent shift is already underway. Because once enough homeowners start hemorrhaging cash, once enough investors try to dump at the same time, and once enough equity is wiped out across the country, the dominoes start falling faster than anyone expects. And this is where most people go paralyzed. They freeze, they wait for the Bank of Canada to fix it, or for their home to recover to 2021 pricing, even though equity has dropped 15 to 25% in most Ontario markets. But that's not how this ends. This isn't 2020, there's no cheap credit coming to bail it out. And the people who wait, they're the ones who get obliterated the hardest. So what's the move? It's not panic, it's positioning. Step 1, know your timeline. If your mortgage is renewing in the next 12 to 18 months, that's your window. Here's why. Most lenders lock in renewal offers 90 to 120 days out. If you wait until 6 weeks before, you lose negotiation leverage, you can't shop rates, and you're stuck with whatever they offer. But if you start now, you can pressure test multiple lenders, lock in early renewal rates, and avoid the payment spike that's crushing thousands of Canadians right now. Step 2, know your exposure. That means knowing your equity position, your payment trajectory, and your true break-even number if you had to sell tomorrow. Step 3, know your strategy. That's where we come in. Here's what that looks like in practice. Last month, we worked with a family in Burlington. Their mortgage was renewing in 8 months. Payment was jumping from $2,900 to $4,200, $1,500 monthly increase. We modeled their equity, ran their break-even, and found a path that saved them $11,000 in the first year. Not by gambling on rate drops, but by repositioning before the pressure hit. That's what strategy looks like when you move early. You're not just a homeowner, you're the CFO of your household. It's your job to see risk early, to ask hard questions, to know what your next move is before the pain hits your front door, because the system won't warn you, and the market won't wait for you to catch up. The good news, and if you're watching this, you're already ahead of most people. You've seen the numbers, you understand the risk, and now you've got a clear path forward. That's what most people never get, not because they're lazy, but because nobody talks to them straight. That's what we're building here, a place for Canadians who want clarity, not hype, not fear, just data, strategy, and survival. So here's what I want you to do next. Check the link below for the free seller survival guide. It breaks down the 3 traps to avoid in this market, the biggest mistakes we're seeing on renewals right now, and how to spot your true risk number before it's too late. It's free, and it's yours if you want it. Remember what I said at the start? This collapse isn't coming. It's here, and the most dangerous thing you can do is assume this will fix itself before it fixes you.